How much further?
So the visitor centre should be about another mile over that rise there. Just keep... What's that? What is that?
Whatever it is, they're flocking this way.
It's all right. Remain calm. Dinosaurs can't see us if we stay still. My God, there's loads of them. Where are they all coming from?
Look out! What do you think they were running from?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Oh my God!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Paleo-Pangea. Today we're going to be adding a new dinosaur to the park, the Gallimimus, Prehistoric Kingdom's latest addition to the game. But before we get started, if you're enjoying this content and you'd like to support us that little bit more, then please consider becoming a member to this channel. Thank you. Now, let's get on with the build. So here we are in the genetics lab, and I must say once again the team have done an absolute marvellous job at bringing this animal to life. Just look at how bird-like it is. It looks like a big ostrich or an emu. Look at the legs. Those legs look just like that of an ostrich. Very, very muscular. Must have been able to run very fast. And the feathers on the arm here as well, very ostrich-like, and the neck and the beak as well. In fact, if it didn't have that tail, you could mistake this for an ostrich or a big emu. And he's doing a little dance for us. Wow, I wonder if this is one of the mating displays. It could be, very possible. And we have 3 different skins for the Gallimimus. So if we move to the next one, you can see here, this one is very white and black, some white and black markings, and a bit of blue here on the face as well. And feathers sprouting off his head here. Very nice. But my favourite skin has to be this one. Just look at those colours along the neck. Absolutely gorgeous. And a bit of feather on the top of the head there as well. You can see them flicking up. And colour in the feathers on the arms and on the tail as well. Beautiful. But I do notice here on the legs there is a bit of down feather going along the legs. With these two you can see it's just bare skin like an ostrich. But with this one the feather comes right down to the ankles. Interesting. And for those of you that don't know, we can now mess around with the animal's genes, so we can make them albino, leucistic or melanistic, or you can mess around with the saturation. You can see there the colours go a lot brighter when you mess around with these. You can make them lighter, darker. So it's completely up to you now. You can make your animals you can make actual individuals now. You can give them names and put them in your parks. So I think that this is the skin I'm going to go with because it just looks stunning. Look at that. Wow. You show off. So without further ado, let's get on with this Gallimimus habitat build. So here is our flock, and you can see I put them in first so I can get a sense of scale of how big to make the environment. I don't want to make the pond too small or too large, so I always put the individuals in first. And you can see we have quite a large flock here. We have 30 individuals, 25 females and 5 males. So you can see here I'm just building up the edges of the pond with the terrain tools. I put down wet mud right at the very edges because the water would seep into the ground here, making it wet, and then you want to gradually make it go drier as you go further out. You can see here we've got some lovely new plants as well, some beautiful lily pads and floating plants. So we'll just scatter them around and then we'll build up the vegetation slowly around the sides. Put a few reeds over here, and you can also see I've put in that lovely swamp tree. That is one of my favourite trees on this game. I love the vines that droop down from the branches and twist around the trunk. It just looks, it's got a lot of character, that tree. And here you can see we're putting in some dead wood, some logs that are floating on the pond, just to put in a bit more character. We'll put a dead tree over here, and over here you can see we've got some new plants as well, some new trees. These trees are wetland trees, and I have to say they look absolutely gorgeous. These are also paleo-accurate trees, so these are types of trees that would have lived during the times that the dinosaurs were alive. I'm going to put another one of those beautiful swamp trees in there. I just love the way it overhangs. It's a very, very beautiful tree. A few palm trees as well to make it look a bit more tropical. Lovely stuff. I must say though, these paleo-accurate plants are absolutely fantastic. You can now make accurate enclosures if you want to. So you can make an enclosure with all the plants that the dinosaurs that you're putting in would have actually lived with. It's crazy when you think the amount of effort and detail that has gone into this game. It's just absolutely incredible. Hats off to the developers. They've done a marvellous job. So that's our forest nearly done. The next thing we're going to build is a hide. Now, the reason I'm building a hide is because it allows the guests to watch the dinosaurs without the dinosaurs knowing they're being watched. If you were to stand out in the open, the animals would notice you and think, what's he staring at? But if you're hidden away in a hide, you hide away, the animals can't see you, and that means that they're going to behave more naturally, and the guests will actually be able to observe the animals behaving like they would in the wild. You get a lot of hides in places like nature reserves and nature parks, and it attracts a lot of bird watchers. So they can sit in the hide with their binoculars and their cameras ready, and the birds are much more likely to behave like they would as if there were no humans there, because they can't see you. They just see a big building. They don't see inside the little slit there where the window is. They don't see the people peering out through the gaps. So it encourages a lot more natural behaviour, and that's what we want to see. We don't want to be scaring the birds off just by standing there. So by doing this, hopefully the dinosaurs will behave a lot more natural. It also gives them a bit of privacy as well. We'll just have to make sure we put signs on the door saying please be quiet so you don't disturb the dinosaurs. You know, I keep looking at that flock and thinking, have I put too many individuals in this enclosure? There have been bone beds found with multiple Gallimimus in them, which suggests that they did live in large groups. However, maybe I've gone a little bit too large here. Maybe I've been watching too much Jurassic Park and all those Gallimimuses flocking across the landscape. When I've been doing a bit of research, it looks like there may have only been around 6 or 7 individuals in a group. So maybe I've gone a bit too crazy here. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. Should we get rid of some of these Gallimimuses? Are there too many of them? I don't know. I feel like they're such a small dinosaur. Well, should I say small for a dinosaur? I think we need quite a few of them. I think that this enclosure should be big enough for them, because we are going to make it very, very large, because I'm planning to make this a multiple species enclosure. So it won't just be the Gallimimus living in here. We're going to have another dinosaur. Can you guess what it is? But before I tell you, let me just say this. I almost made a massive mistake with this dinosaur. For some reason, I was under the impression that Gallimimus lived in North America, I don't know why, but this dinosaur does not live in North America. It did live, in Mongolia. It lived in Asia. So I was going to put it in the enclosure with our ankylosauruses and our Triceratops. So it's a good job I noticed this before I put it in and made this huge mistake, because what I want to do with this park is make it paleo-accurate. So all the animals that are living in the same enclosure have to come from the same time period and from the same place. Now, after saying that, does that give you any idea what the dinosaur could be that is going to share this enclosure with the Gallimimus? That's right, it is of course the dino-packed. A very different and unusual looking dinosaur. You may have seen it on Prehistoric Planet, wading through the swamps with that shaggy coat, those shaggy feathers drooping over its body, a bit like an emu. And it also has a big duck bill and massive claws, perhaps for protection, but also for ripping up water plants to help it eat. And I just want to give a shout out to Franco Canel. Thank you very much for your comment, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have realised my mistake and I would have ended up putting the Gallimimus in the Cretaceous North America enclosure. So thank you very much, my friend, because if it wasn't for you, I would have only been finding out in the comment section of this video with everyone saying, what on earth are you doing? Gallimimus wouldn't have lived in North America. So in your comment you ask, can you make an enclosure for the Gallimimus and the dino-packed? Maybe with two layers, a lower layer with a wetland for the dino-packed and an upper layer with a forest for the Gallimimus. A brilliant idea. So I think what we're going to do is in the next video we'll make a dino-packed habitat, a vast wetland, and round the edges of the enclosure we're going to put in some forest so you can't see the fences, so it looks like it's just a complete wild habitat. Now for the guests, what we'll do is we'll put in a boardwalk so they can actually walk into the enclosure and walk around the swamp. Rather than looking into the enclosure, they're actually going to be in it, walking around it and getting up close and personal with the dinosaurs. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Gallimimus. Let me get up some facts about this incredible dinosaur. So let's start off with the speed of this animal. Now in Jurassic Park we see these Gallimimuses legging it across this vast open area, shooting past Alan, Lex and Tim with ease. So how fast could they actually run? Is this exaggerated, or could they really reach speeds that we see in the movie? Well, here we have the top speed for a Gallimimus, 29 to 34 miles per hour. Now, I don't know about you, but I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting a faster speed than this, because when we compare this to an ostrich could run at 43 miles per hour. Now, the ostrich is smaller, so it's probably a lot lighter, but when you look how long the Gallimimus's legs are, the power in those muscles, and the stride the animal has, I would have thought that they could have run a lot faster. So, I don't know. There you have it. That is the speed of a Gallimimus, and it's nowhere near cheetah speed. A cheetah is 70 miles per hour, so it's fast, but maybe not as fast as I was expecting. Now let's move on to the size of this dinosaur. Now when you think of Gallimimus, you might think, this is quite a small, medium-sized dinosaur, nothing too big. And it is for a dinosaur, but I don't know about you, I thought, something about the size of an ostrich, but it is actually a lot bigger. Let's start off with the length. So 5 meters to 5.8 meters long. Pretty long, but this animal is very, very tall, very long legs. So we've got 2 to 3 meters high. very, very tall indeed. When you look at a human being, the average human being is around 1.7 meters tall. So it is towering over you, looking right down at you. It's massive. And for the weight, we actually have around 400 to 490 kilograms. So just below half a ton, which is pretty heavy. That's pretty big. It's a big animal, very hefty dinosaur. I think it's because when you put Gallimimus in with other dinosaurs, it is dwarfed by the big ones. But don't be mistaken, this is one very large dinosaur indeed. Now, let's have a look at this animal's diet. Gallimimus was an omnivorous dinosaur, so it ate a mixture of plants and animals. Now, the types of plants that Gallimimus was eating was those that grew in wetlands. So this is the perfect habitat for them. We've got a lovely pond, and then when we build the dino-packed habitat, they'll have a vast marshland with a lovely variety of different plants for them to feed on. But they also fed on small animals, things like frogs, lizards and insects, and even dinosaur eggs. So these animals were opportunists. They'd eat anything, but they weren't active hunters. They weren't going out setting up ambushes and seeking prey. Just anything that was unlucky enough to get in the way of a flock of Gallimimus, and they managed to spot them, they'd probably get gobbled up. So best to stay still and hope that your camouflage will keep you hidden from these hungry Gallimimuses. And this habitat that we're making for them will probably attract all of those little animals into this area. So we should get things like frogs living in this pond and newts and things like that. Perfect for the Gallimimus to forage and search for prey. So the guests are going to see some very natural behaviours here. Rather than just putting them in a cage and putting down a tray of food, you're actually going to see them bobbing their heads underneath the water and in between the reeds and things like that. Very much like swans or geese, even ducks, you know, bobbing their heads under the water and looking for food. So it'll be a bit more natural for them because we've built them a very natural habitat. We will be putting troughs out as well, just to make sure that they all do get fed well enough. We don't want them getting hungry or getting too skinny. You know, we want to look after our animals in this park and make sure that they're well looked after. And here you can see I'm building a sign just to let the guests know what's in store for them, the swamps of Mongolia. So Mongolia is going to be split into two different sections. We're going to have this swamp area for the Gallimimus and the dino-packed, and then we'll have a desert section where things like velociraptors, Tarbosaurus, Protoceratops and the new dinosaur that's just been added, the Oviraptor. So all those dinosaurs are going to be in the desert section. However, I doubt we're going to be able to make a multiple species enclosure like this one, because if we do, they'll probably all kill each other. The velociraptors would definitely hunt the Protoceratops, and so would the Tarbosaurus as well, so it's best that we keep them all separated. And we're coming close to the end of the build now. We've got our sign in so the guests know what's coming up. We'll just put in the supports at the back there so it's all very sturdy. And yes, that pretty much brings us to the end of the video. So I hope you all enjoyed it. The last thing we need to do is just make that sign a bit higher up. We don't want the guests having to duck underneath or smacking their head on top of that sign, so we'll just raise it up a little bit. There we go. Marvellous. And there we have it, the swamps of Mongolia. The last thing I want to do is just put two silhouettes, and a few palm trees as well. We'll put a silhouette of the Gallimimus and the dino-packed just to give the guests an idea of what dinosaurs are coming up.
So yes, that brings us to the end of this build. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you in part 2 for the Dino-Packed. Next time on Extinct Kingdoms, join us as we extend the habitat and release the mighty Dino-Packed. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like, and if you have any ideas for the enclosure, let us know in the comments down below. And if you'd like to support us, you can do so by becoming a member to this channel. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.